Hello, and welcome to the Mental Health Advantage podcast, where HR, benefits, and total rewards leaders explore the future of workplace well-being. I'm your host, Stephen Sokoler, founder and CEO of Journey, the leading proactive mental health solution for modern companies. In each episode, we bring you expert insights, real-world strategies, and candid conversations on creating healthier, more productive workplaces. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. Now let's dive in. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Mental Health Advantage podcast. I'm Stephen Sokoler, founder and CEO of Journey, and sitting down with Jennifer Weinstein, VP of Benefits at Albertsons and author of the new book, Benefits Burnout: How to Fall Back in Love with Your Employee Benefits Career. And I have to tell you, this book is fantastic. Not only am I loving it, but people all over are reaching out to Jen and saying great things. So I'm really excited to have this conversation. Jen, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for inviting me to this conversation, Stephen. I really appreciate it.
It is my pleasure. So you've spent a career helping organizations navigate increasingly complex world of employee benefits. And, through the leadership experience and writing the book, you're shining light on a really important but overlooked challenge, right? Which is who's taking care of the caretakers, right? The well-being of the people responsible for employee well-being. So when do you realize that the benefits profession itself was facing a burnout problem?
That's a great question. So I've been in benefits for 25 years. It is a huge passion of mine. I feel like this is no coincidence that I ended up in a benefits job. But over the last couple of years, I've had separate one-on-one conversations with benefit peers. I've been in conversations in benefit peer group meetings, and this conversation of burnout keeps coming up again and again. And last year, I was a speaker at a conference, and while the topic of my presentation was on building a benefit strategy, part of that presentation was around benefits burnout. And after I did that presentation, from the end of that presentation through the rest of the afternoon, through the cocktail hour and the dinner, people kept coming up to me talking about, "Hey, you talked about this idea of burnout." And they kept telling me their stories. I remember one lady came up to me and she said, "I've been in benefits for 10 years. All I can think about is there still an opportunity for me to move to a farm and raise sheep? Like, is there another world beyond this benefits career?" And these conversations kept happening. I came back home from that conference, and I've written on LinkedIn for about 15 years. And I wrote a piece on benefits burnout, and it was one of my most read, commented on, viewed pieces on LinkedIn, and started writing some more about this idea of benefits burnout. And people started sharing their stories with me. And I've always wanted to write a book. And I thought this would be a perfect topic because I feel like there's a lot of people right now in our space, not just on the employer side, but also on the consultant, the broker, the point solution side, that are feeling this angst of, is this a career I still want to be in? Because I used to feel passionate about it. Something's happened. Should I leave? Should I do something different? And so that's what really instigated this fire in me to write Benefits Burnout and share the story so that we could all start talking about this publicly.
I love that. How was the process of writing the book?
Different on different days. For me, I love writing. I've never used AI to write anything in my life. And to me, it's a very therapeutic process because you're getting your ideas eventually on paper. And it's a creative process for me. So it's very therapeutic, it's relaxing. I love it. I especially love writing very early in the morning. And I love the feedback that I get from people about my writing. So I really enjoyed the process. It was also very interesting to think about my 25 years in my benefits career because as I was writing the book, I was pulling stories from my past. And some of that was very interesting to think about old times as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And how's it been since the book came out?
It has been one of the greatest, most exciting things that's ever happened to me in life. As I said, I wrote this book because I wanted to open up the conversation so people felt like they, first of all, were seen, that they were not alone in feeling burnout. And two, to open up this conversation so that we could freely talk about it. And all of the hopes I had for this book, all of that's coming to fruition. Look, you and I are talking about it right now.
Hmm.
I have a bunch of speaking engagements coming up that I'm so excited about. What I most love is that people are reaching out to me, telling me their own personal story, and they feel seen and heard, and they feel like they have a space finally to talk about how they're feeling and what they can do about it. And I love the ideas of people coming up with solutions to fix it.
Yeah, yeah. I've mentioned this to you before. It's really it's incredible. Like when I wrote my book, I was writing it sort of. I was like, okay, I'll put this out there. And my joke was that my mom would be the only one who buys a copy, and my dad would be the only one who reads a copy. but it's incredible how many doors open up when you put something out there into the world, right? And it comes from an authentic experience like yours, and other people resonate with that because, there's 8 billion of us on the planet. And so if we're having the experience, there's probably a good chance that a lot of other people are having the same experience, right? And I think you very authentically touched on what a lot of people are feeling right now. And I guess, question, why do you think burnout amongst benefit professionals often goes unnoticed?
So I think benefits people do a really great job of not telling anybody about what they actually do. A lot of us are in this industry because we love helping people. And so the part that we're focused on a daily basis is how can we make somebody's lives better? How can we make it simple for them to understand their benefits? How can we help them at a time in their life when they need it most, when they have a health crisis? And so their heads are down, they're focused on helping somebody. There's so many things on their plates. I'm sure we'll get to talk about the multiple hat syndrome I write about in the book here shortly. But when you're so focused on what you're doing and your head's down, oftentimes you don't share with people what you do in your job on a daily basis. And when you don't share out with people what you do, sometimes they don't necessarily appreciate what you do. I think about other people within organizations. I don't know what they do for their job. I assume that it's a lot of work and they're very skilled at it. And they probably experience burnout too. But benefits people have this unique quality about them where they're so good at what they do, but they're not great at sharing that with others.
Yeah.
And when you don't share that, people sometimes don't fully appreciate all that goes into the world of benefits. I can remember at one point in my career, it's a very long time ago in a conversation, person outside of the benefits world said, "Oh, benefits, that's an easy job. I could probably learn that in a day." And you just smile, right? And you think, wow, really? Is that what people think?
That's scary.
No, you can't learn it in a day. So I think sometimes people feel like they don't really understand all that goes into creating open enrollment, creating a benefit strategy, the immense amount of responsibility a benefits person has for managing a company's funds, while at the same time balancing the impact that it has on their employees, while at the same time creating a attractive benefit strategy to attract other people to your organization, at the same time being competitive. And all of these competing priorities really can weigh on a benefits person.
Yeah. We found kind of across industries that, role aside, the people that are taking care of others don't do as good a job taking care of themselves, whether it's, vets or doctors or nurses, or benefits people, right? Like you give so much to others and that's nourishing, but at the same time, oftentimes the oxygen mask isn't on yourself. I'm curious, you mentioned obviously a multi-decade career in benefits. How have you seen it change over the last decade or so?
It's so interesting because I think so much has changed while at the same time so much has stayed the same. Some of the things that we're talking about today, we talked about when I was in my very first benefits job. Things like communications. I'm not sure if anybody fully has cracked the code on how to effectively communicate with the employees to make sure that they completely understand all of their company's benefit offerings. We talk about wellness still today. Now that's formed a lot of different areas that are different than they were 10 years ago. But I think one of the biggest challenges and also opportunities in the benefit space today is that 10 years ago, we didn't have thousands of point solutions. We didn't have thousands of vendors in the benefit space. And that also is something that's very different today for benefit folks that we didn't have a decade ago. Just the amount of opportunity, but at the same time, the decision fatigue that can come with trying to pick a point solution that might be right for their company.
Yeah. What are the biggest pressures that you're seeing driving stress and fatigue in the industry today?
Well, I write in the book about this topic called the multiple hat syndrome, which I think drives a lot of the benefits pressure feeling today. A benefits person has to wear so many different hats. If you think about it, they have to be a communications expert. They have to know finance. They're managing budgets. All of a sudden, they become a tech expert. They're implementing benefit administration systems. They have to be a PR person. They have to be in sourcing and procurement. They have to be great at sales. They're selling their ideas internally to their senior leadership teams or their boss or their peers or their HR team. They have to be a people manager. All of these different hats that a benefits person wears can ultimately lead to some of the pressures that they're feeling today, which ultimately also leads to burnout as well. And I think also right now we're experiencing healthcare trend. Most employers are getting near double digits if they're not already there. We haven't experienced healthcare trend at this rate in the last 15, I would say maybe even 20 years. And for many in conversations I have with them, they feel like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. When
Mm,
is this healthcare trend going to stop? When are we going to go back down to single digits? I remember I was in a conversation recently in a peer group and everybody's sitting around and we're talking about what point solutions can we use or how what levers can we pull in our benefit strategy next year. And I said to them, I feel like we are just chipping away at this gigantic boulder that we're trying to push uphill. At the same time, we're trying to chip away at that boulder to see if it'll go away. We can pull a lever here, we can pull a lever there, but at the end of the day, it's still a gigantic boulder that we're trying to go after. And at this point right now, I think for many people in this industry, we feel like we have pulled all of the levers that we can pull. Now, the levers that we want to pull to try to mitigate trend are things that we would never have considered just 2 years ago. And being a good steward of your company's benefits budget while at the same time wanting to create an amazing benefits program for your employees puts that benefits person right in the middle of making some very difficult decisions.
yeah, it sounds like the landscape has become a lot more complex. I mean, I feel like for me, every time I go to a TCB or some other conference, I see 10 new benefits that I never knew existed and all look great. And I'm not even talking, forget all the new AI stuff. It just seems like we're continuing to have new innovation come into the space. And so more to keep up with and more to try to juggle. How has that affected, practitioners like yourself and others?
One thing a lot of people talk about is just the idea of how many sales pitches we get on a regular basis.
Hmm.
Um, I must, and I'm not exaggerating, I must get 3 to 400 a week, and that's through direct LinkedIn messages, that's through cold calls, that's through emails. It must be very difficult to be a salesperson on the point solution side. I really feel for them. But if you're a benefits professional on the employer side, it leads to the burnout because there's so many point solutions right now in the benefit space. How do you differentiate one from another? And then your day is so consumed with your daily activities, it's difficult to try to understand all of the new point solutions in the space. So you become part of peer groups to understand what's new and innovative that might be of interest. And while at the same time, that's so revolutionary what's happening right now in the benefits industry, so many smart, genius people creating all of these new innovative solutions. I think it's absolutely amazing. But at the same time, there's so much noise in the space that it's hard to differentiate which one you want to talk to and which one might be better. And at the same time, you've got these benefit budgets that you have to manage. And so you're also being in a place where you have additional pressure to maybe remove point solutions while at the same time some look very interesting that you wish you could add, but you've got these cost pressures. This delicate dance that's going on is very frustrating to some and challenging to try to figure out how to manage.
Yeah. Yeah. Going back to the number of calls, when I speak to benefits leaders like yourself, I feel bad because you must have so many different competing priorities internally, and then externally, you're bombarded by, salespeople with the best of intentions, right? Trying to share what they're doing and what's new and what's happening, and so I know it's quite a lot to juggle. Let's talk about hidden costs. What are the hidden costs of complexity for both employees and benefits leaders?
Well, going back to the idea that we have so many point solutions, I think it kind of goes in ebbs and flows. Sometimes we're in a space where employers have so many point solutions and so many benefit partners that it adds to this increased complexity, which was never really the intention. The intention of adding these benefit partners was to create simplicity for employees and their family members to get access to quality, affordable health care when they need it most, right? But from an employee's perspective, when you add so many point solutions and so many different places for them to get help, it becomes very difficult to try to navigate that benefits landscape. And so, what you think you've created to add simplicity to the program actually ends up creating this most complicated environment ecosystem, an unintended consequence of your best wishes, right? Your best intended strategy has now created so much complexity for people to understand where to go, how do they get help, where do they go when they need it most? And most people they don't read their benefit materials, right? It's a very confusing world of lots of weird acronyms and weird terms. And most people, if they're healthy and they don't have a lot of health issues, maybe they think about open enrollment once per year. But then when they do have that health crisis, they're probably not thinking about that open enrollment webinar or that new hire video that you had them watch to know that there's a cancer support program, or they have an MSK program that they can use, or they have a mental health program that they can use. And so you're trying to figure out how can you make it easy for them to know about the benefits when they actually need it.
Thanks for listening to the first half of the episode. I hope you're walking away with some valuable insights. I want to take a quick pause to tell you about my book, The Mental Health Advantage. If you found this conversation useful, you'll find 300 more pages packed with strategies, insights, and real-world applications. Grab your copy on Amazon. Just check the show notes for the link. And if you're looking for a more comprehensive mental health solution for your company, let's chat. You'll find another link in the show notes to reach out and explore how Journey can help you. Now back to the show. I think that last part of what you said is exactly right. Right, it's when they need it. Right, if you're talking to me about retirement things and this and that, it's just not relevant. Right, but if you can get me at the right time with the right message, it could be extremely powerful because we all have our lives and we're doing many things and busy with work and family and this and that, and then on top of it, it's there's so many great benefits that are available, but your eyes glaze over and you're just like, I'm just going to ignore the whole thing. Right. Let's talk about something that's fun: falling in love, or as you say it in the book, falling back in love. You talk about falling back in love with benefits work. What does that mean?
I think most benefits people fell into their benefits career totally by chance. I know that's true for me. If I can share just a little bit of my first benefits job, in my very first benefits job, I thought I wanted to be an HR generalist. I thought I eventually wanted to be like an HR business partner role. And someone at the time at Leader gave me an opportunity to lead the benefits function. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know anything about the world of benefits at that time, but somebody gave me a chance to do that. And I quickly learned how exciting this industry could be. And in that role, I went to a conference at the time, and there was a great leader, another benefits leader at that conference, who stood on stage and talked about this idea of a wellness program. And I was so enthralled by what he was talking about. I mean, it's funny now to say that, right? This is a long time ago. And I went back to my employer and I said, I'm going to create the world's best wellness program. I'm going to do this thing where I'm going to get everybody healthy and this is going to reduce claims cost. And I was so excited about the idea that I could have a career that helped people better their lives. I mean, how many people get to say that you have a job every day
Mhm.
where at the end of the day, you're actually helping someone with their life? And I think at the heart of what a benefits person's passion truly is, it's helping someone else. And when you feel burnout from a job that you once felt not only so passionate about, but felt like your job really had a purpose and that purpose was helping other people, and then you start to fall out of love with that job, it makes you question your passion, and you sometimes can forget your original purpose and why you're in this career to begin with. And so falling back in love with what you originally fell in love with initially in your career, I think is at a point where we need to be right now, which in the book I write about remembering what your purpose is so that those hard days when you feel the frustrations, when you've got the 500 emails, when the webinar didn't go right, when the ROI didn't prove itself to where you thought it was going to be, when that financial conversation wasn't so great, you've got a high cost claimant coming in. If you can remember that really your true purpose is to help others, and that's the amazing opportunity that you get to do every single day, it helps a little bit with the burnout feelings.
Yeah. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. What separates professionals who remain energized and engaged from those who burn out?
So I'm very much a person that believes you've got to have a life outside of your job. And the reason for that is that it helps prevent the burnout. I think for many of us, we're so passionate about being in this benefits industry that sometimes it's all consuming. We start to identify ourselves with the job that we have. I know that I have done this for myself. I am so passionate about what I do. I absolutely love my career. I'm so humble that I get to have this amazing job. But I think it's also very important to make sure that you have passions outside of your job. And so I talk a lot over the course of the last many years on LinkedIn about finding your passions outside of your job. And there's many different reasons for this. One is to help prevent burnout. And the way you do that is when you find something you like to do outside of work, it helps you actually do better at your job. If you've ever been in a situation at your job where you're just stuck on a problem, you cannot figure out how to solve a problem, or somebody's asked you to do something and you don't know how to do this or how you're going to go about solving whatever it is, you could sit there at your desk and try to rack your brain on solving this problem, but you're probably never going to come up with the answer. The number one best thing that you can do is actually step away from your job and go do something totally unrelated to your job. I write a
Nice.
lot on LinkedIn about the things I'm passionate about, which are my cow paintings. I love baking. And for me, not only does that give my brain an opportunity to reset, it gives my brain an opportunity to relax. And every single time I'm stuck on a problem in my job, when I go and do something that I enjoy that's not job related, that answer comes to me every single time. It's like my brain got a break and now it's figuring out what the best solution is. And now, oh, yeah, that's what we should be doing. Or I come up with new innovative ideas for my job when I'm not doing my job. So I'm very passionate about telling people they've got to find things that they enjoy doing outside of work. It might be baking, it might be painting, it might be jewelry making, it might be doing something with your family, even just simple things like going for a walk. You've got to find something that gives you an identity outside of your job. So those days that you feel like moving to a farm and raising sheep, you can turn to the things that you're already doing, which are similar to the farm and raising sheep, which you can do at home and give yourself a break.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. Let's talk a little bit about community. What are your thoughts on how community can help to support benefits leaders, prevent burnout, and keep them in love with their jobs?
Well, I think of community as my benefit peers, people like me that have similar jobs at other organizations. And those are the best people. I just think benefits people are so unique. I hope people watching this feel the same way. If you've ever gone to a benefits conference or benefits peer group meeting, gosh, these benefits people are fun. They're so interesting, they're so innovative, they're so fun to be around, and I feel like benefits people get each other like nobody else can. I'm sure this happens in other industries, but it's not just benefits people on the employer side. I think that's a very unique group, but you get benefits people on the consulting side, the broker side, the point solution side. Everybody's just fun, and we're all there for the same thing, right? Which is to help other people and create great strategies. And I think it's so important to be part of a peer group that, number one, gives you ideas that you can take back to your own employer, but it also gives you that outlet to be able to vent about the hard stuff. You hear from others that you're not alone, you feel seen and heard, and it just creates a great sense of community to be with like minded people.
Yeah, I love that. What about mentorship? So community, has its role. How do you think about mentorship in this space?
I've had several great mentors over the course of my career that I am still in contact with today. I wrote recently actually on LinkedIn about who's planting the seeds for you. In my garden in my backyard, all of a sudden I had sunflowers pop up. I didn't plant these sunflowers. I didn't plant the sunflower seeds. I'm assuming a bird took a sunflower seed and plopped it there, or maybe a squirrel did. And it really made me think, who's planting the seeds of your success without you even knowing about it, right? Somebody planted these sunflower seeds for me so that I could enjoy these beautiful sunflowers in my backyard. And I thought, wow, I took me a minute to think, I want to make sure I'm planting the seeds of success for other people and they don't have to know about it. And then I thought about all the people that have done that for me, the people that have spoken up for me, I'm sure in rooms that I was not in, the people who gave me opportunities like in my very first benefits job. If John had not given me that opportunity to lead that benefits team, I may not be in the role that I'm in today. I may not have had the career that I've had. I'm so thankful to the people that have given me the opportunity, and I try my best to make sure that I'm giving others the opportunities as well through mentorship. It's something I'm passionate about to make sure that people who want to continue to grow in their career have those opportunities to grow because really your whole career depends on people just giving you the opportunity.
Hmm, yeah. And how do you think the profession is going to change in the next, let's call it 5 years?
Well, I think, of course, AI is going to have a dramatic impact on our industry, which I think could be very exciting to be able to move things faster than they have been. I think it's going to potentially open the doors to solve the case on how to communicate with employees better. like we just talked about, when they need the information at the time that they need it. I think AI can dramatically help with that. And I think the next 3, 4, 5 years is going to be an uphill battle from a healthcare trend perspective. I think we are going to see a shift in the industry where decisions are made by employers to change the landscape of benefits in a way that could potentially upend many things. I think sometimes employees have an expectation of the benefits that they should be offered in a manner that they should be offered. But I think with the cost constraints that most companies are experiencing right now, the way that we go about offering those benefits in the form and fashion that we offer it and the way that we offer it may ultimately change as well.
What advice would you give somebody who's entering benefits right now?
Oh, I love this question. This is my best advice. Lean into everything that you do in your job. Ask a lot of questions. I know that there's memes out there and there's sayings that oftentimes the quietest person in the meeting might have the best ideas. I agree with that. But if you don't share your ideas and speak up in a meeting, no one's going to know what those great ideas are. So I think if you're new in the benefit space, the best thing you can do is, 1, speak up in meetings. There's no dumb questions. Ask the stuff that you don't know, because I bet there's other people in the meeting that don't know the answer either. Lean in. When you're in, especially all the virtual meetings that all of us are in on a daily basis, be really engaged in that meeting. Show up really well, ask those questions, look like you're participating, make sure you're there. Make sure that you're letting people know that you want to do more in your career. Oftentimes, I think we think, well, if we do really good in our job, somebody's going to come and tap us on the shoulder and give us that additional opportunity. But actually, most of the time, that's not the way it happens. You need to let people know that you want to do additional things in your career. And it may not even just be moving up the ladder, right? It may be just having exposure to other areas within your field that you wanna have exposure to so that you can learn. But if you don't tell people that you wanna do that, they may not know that you have an interest. And people are so busy with their jobs. Oftentimes we think a leader is focused on helping us with our career. They'd love to be, but we know if we're leaders, we have so many things on our plates. Sometimes we just wish someone would come and tell us what they wanna do. So, I would say to a new benefits person, lean in, be really actively engaged, make sure your manager, your leader knows that you're interested in doing more, learning more, being engaged, and look for those leaders that give you the opportunity to do what you wanna do. That is the best piece of advice for career success, is finding those people that are going to support you with what you wanna do with your career.
That's beautiful. I love that. As we start to move towards the end, a couple of questions. What's one misconception people have about working in employee benefits, aside from the person you mentioned at the beginning who said they could learn it all in a day? Besides that one, what else is there?
Oh gosh, I think there's so many misconceptions. I think that there's definitely a misconception about how much you actually have to know in the benefit space and how much sales actually goes on. Oftentimes we think of the salespeople on the point solution side, but there is so much sales that actually has to go on the benefit side. So if you're on the employer side of benefits, you are constantly selling. You are coming up with ideas, and then you've got to sell them to your boss. You've gotta sell them to a senior leadership team. You've gotta sell them to leaders in your company. Let's say you wanna make a big change in your benefit strategy. Most of the time, you can't just go implement that. You've gotta socialize it, you've gotta sell it, you've gotta help people understand why you're making this gigantic change, what's in it for them, how you're gonna communicate it, what the change management strategy is going to be. Then you've gotta sell it to your team. You have to help them understand why you're making this change. Did you bring them along through the process before you got to the actual decision, or did you just tell them this is what the decision is and now you've got to get them on board? Hopefully, you brought them along throughout the process and made them feel like they're part of the decision. So I think that most people don't realize how much selling actually goes on the employer side of the benefit space.
Yeah. If you could redesign one aspect of the benefits industry today, what would it be?
We've got to do a better job of the connection between the employer and the point solutions. This being inundated with 3 to 400 emails and cold calls and direct messages a week, this can't be fun for anyone. I know that there's groups that I'm part of that are trying to improve that process, which I think is phenomenal, but there's got to be a different way. If I think today, like let's say I needed a new refrigerator, I don't have someone emailing me 300 times a week. Need a new refrigerator? Need a new refrigerator? Cold calling me. Need a new refrigerator? No, but when I need a new refrigerator, I kind of have an idea of how to go sourcing for that refrigerator and how to get reviews and, where to ask people about kind of what refrigerator they had and get some idea about the quality of the brand of refrigerator and how it might fit in my kitchen. We don't take what we normally do in everyday life for other products and apply that to the benefit space. It's still very old school. It kind of reminds me of like the encyclopedia salesman coming to the door to try to sell an encyclopedia set. You either need it or you don't. You either want to buy it or you don't want to buy it. I think there's such an opportunity in this space to create a better ecosystem that would improve all of our lives and help us understand what opportunities are out there outside of the direct messages on LinkedIn and the emails.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. As somebody who's, the sender of some of those messages, it's like I've spoken to consultants because in my previous world, so I ran a company that helped organizations celebrate and inspire their employees. So we worked with HR and we were in the award and recognition space. But we built these preferred partnerships that allowed us to not have to do that and save a lot of money and time. And to your point, frustration of we're sending out 10,000 emails a week and 500, and everybody loses, right? So I went to the consultant houses and said, "Can we do something like this?" And they said, "Yes, but it costs 200 grand for this, and it costs 100 grand for that." And so it's sort of an interesting space to try to figure out how do you get team members, or in your case, right, benefits leaders, the information they need when they need it, right? Not 6 months before or 6 months after. And how do you do that in a way that's not just pay for play, where the biggest companies who are the oldest and most established, but probably not the most interesting, suck up all the oxygen because
Mhm.
they're paying for placement and things like that. So I
Right.
am interested, separate from this conversation, to hear your thoughts on that, because there has to be a better way. There has to be
Yeah,
a better way.
agree.
All right. My last question for you: what gives you hope about the future of the benefits profession?
One thing, I believe we are all on this earth to help each other. So, and I know a lot of people talk about finding their passion or, what are we bent here to do? If you have not figured out what that is for yourself yet, to me, there is one thing we are all meant here to do, and that is to help each other. What still gives me hope is that I still have this amazing opportunity to do just that. I get to help people every day in so many different ways. Now, I may not always be 100% successful, right? Benefits is very challenging because you always try to do your best, and sometimes that falls short, and you learn from that. But you have the amazing opportunity to help people on your team grow. You have the opportunity to help people with their health crisis or whatever they might be dealing with. You also get the opportunity to help people at a time in their life with really exciting, right? Like building a family or something good that's really happening to them as well. It's not just always a health crisis. And so that gives me hope to think we can always do it better. How can we be more innovative? How can we use new technology to get there? And how can we partner together better? So I just think there's so much opportunity to do what we really want to do, and that's help people.
Amen. All right. Jennifer, thank you for this. Your insights have been wonderful. The team at Albertson is very lucky to have you.
Thank
We
you.
as a community are lucky to have you. For those of you listening, Benefits Burnout: How to Fall Back in Love with Your Employee Benefits Career. Wonderful. Jennifer, I greatly appreciate you making time for me and for us. And thank you. And thanks for everything you do.
Thank you, Stephen. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for spending this time with us. We know you're busy. If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to subscribe to the Mental Health Advantage and leave a review. Thanks so much and have a beautiful day.